Hi everyone, my name is Humble Rookie, and if you're here, well, that means you're at least someone interested in dealing with sprinters in Project Zomboid, or maybe you're someone who's looking for a way to try to incorporate them into your game. In this video, I'm going to be sharing some of my opinions, experiences with them, as well as maybe some ways to integrate them, and then actually some tips on how to deal with them if you do decide to put them into your game. And a quick spoiler alert, they are brutal. But before we get ahead of ourselves, there's a couple things we need to go over first before we see if I survived or not. And just in case you're not familiar with sprinters, or if you've not really tried them out before, or if this is your first time hearing about them, one thing you need to know about sprinters right off the back is that their running speed is faster than you running when you hold down shift. The only way you can outrun them is going to be using the alt sprint instead. Besides the speed difference, and assuming you've not made any changes to the game settings or anything, that's really the only difference. They just run, that's it. And I gotta say, it's fucking terrifying. As for why I started to play with them, I've got a couple different reasons that maybe this will resonate with you depending on how much of a veteran you are, Project Zomboid, or if you're someone new to the game. Honestly, with me, it came down to curiosity. I didn't even know they were in the game until maybe about 100 hours in. I had no idea there was a setting to even change it. I gave it a try at first just to, just to pique that curiosity. But even then, by that point, after 100 hours in, I'm gonna be honest with you, the Shamblers just weren't really doing it for me. The game had already gotten too easy for me. It wasn't very difficult to just already have a base, car, and everything I needed within the first week, and then from there it was just, do what I needed to do. So doing this gave me a challenge. It gave me something new to experience the game. And for those of you out there, it doesn't actually require any mods. So if for whatever reason you're apprehensive for mods, maybe your rig can't run it, adding sprinters is a good way to just liven up the game and, well, just completely change it up for you. Now, I've got over 600 hours in this game, so something I need to make sure that you guys are aware, just because making a game more difficult doesn't always mean it's going to be more enjoyable. On a personal level, I like how brutal it made the game become. It just made it a whole new challenge for me personally, but I do understand that that's not everyone's cup of tea. So I would say if you're thinking about sprinters, I would say maybe think, what is it about Project Zomboid that you enjoy? Do you like the brutal survival aspect of it and you want more of a challenge, to make this feel more hopeless? Then maybe sprinters is where you want to go. Or are you the guy who just wants to explore the map, chill, farm, maybe live out in the woods or whatever? If you're on the more peaceful side of the world, then maybe sprinters may not be for you, but hey, different strokes for different folks. Now, as for how they changed the experience for me, I gotta be honest with you. The very first time I saw one of these things just sprinting at me, I actually felt scared. I was never scared of this game, and sure, it's got those, jump scare sounds that you hear whenever a zombie just surprises you in a window or whatever, but like, how did you get in here? I no longer had this confidence to just go into a town, loot, do what I need to do, and get out. Now here, typically I would just try to fight them, but the fact that they're just running at me, I didn't think I could actually handle them both because I was worried I was going to get stun locked. I decided to run, and then here I ended up just tripping. I hurt my leg. Like, stuff like this. Like, if these would have been Shamblers, I would have been fine. It would have been not a problem, but now with sprinters, I have less time to react. Even small interactions like this are changed just because of the fact these are sprinters as opposed to Shamblers. They take the game and slow it down drastically, and you do have to focus primarily on stealth, which, for those of you veterans, you guys kind of know how stealth works in this game and how much it doesn't really work, but it does change the game. Like, if you thought shooting a gun in West Point with Shamblers was bad, just try not doing it. Just try doing it with sprinters, and just tell me how that goes for you. It's much worse. And this circles back to what I was talking about earlier in terms of, just making it more difficult may not make it a more enjoyable experience. I will say, for me personally, I had to change the way I played, and I know I've already mentioned that as well, but to elaborate more on that, I had to slow way down, like I can't just take a car into the outside of town and hope to sneak on in. Like, that is doesn't really work as well as it used to. But to sum it up for myself, I think sprinters may be a good idea for you if you're someone who already enjoys the combat, you feel very comfortable in the game, and you're a little bored of this now, and you find yourself getting to a point to where you're safe, very early on. If you're one of those people that wants something that changes up without mods, this may be for you. Well, if you made it this far, first off, thank you. And what I'm going to be talking about next are just really two topics. One, how to actually deal with them, so some tips that I have learned over the past few hundred hours playing with them. And then secondly, if you're actually interested in trying them out, I've got a few different ways to integrate them so that way you don't have to go in, well, 100% sprinters and just suffer like I did. If you recall early at the beginning of the video, I was already being chased by a small horde that was breaking down through that door. This is the end result of that, and the very first tip I can give you is just be prepared for combat. Unless you're the best at sneaking at this, they are always going to find you, and my best advice is to always have an escape route at the ready. So for me, my plan of goal was get out, hop over the fence, and use the fence to just hopefully slow them down, give me some breathing room. And as you can see to the house to my right, this is actually a house that I've cleared out already as well, just to, you know, as a way to fall back to if in case I get overrun. Okay, yeah. Fuck it. And this right here is what I mean. Rather than trying to kill him as I've pushed him down, I prioritize hopping over the fence because this is what's going to give me a chance to just take him out one by one without having to handle them all at the same time. If you play with multi-hit on, that may not be a big concern, but I don't, so this is what I have to do to ensure that I can at least drop them without worrying about myself too much. Now for the next clip, I wanted to show the importance of just listening to the game while you're sneaking around, and also checking doors before opening them and when you're inside of a house where you think zombies could be. But I'll let myself take it over here so you can see what I'm talking about. There's one in here. I don't know if you can hear him, but I can hear one in here. Can't. I'm gonna... You hear that though, right? It's banging on a door now. Now the question is it just one or more than one? I think it's just a one from the sounds of it. I don't know, I mean, you might be right. I found one in the restroom yesterday by itself with no clothes on and like a bottle of bourbon on the floor. It's this one. I'm going to pause it here real quick to explain why it was what I just did on that prior door. So if you think there's a zombie behind a door, my rule of thumb is if you're sure it's just the one, the moment you hit that door, open it, hit space to push whatever is behind you to give you space to just either attack them, run away, or just to close the door again. Or if you're wanting to check what's behind the door, you can quickly double tap E and that'll open and close the door. It's a good way to check to see if there's anyone behind there. Back to this. Success! Honestly, when it comes to cars, my opinion is they are very much a necessity when it comes to sprinters, when it comes to just moving supplies between possible different bases, or like as you see me here, using it as a weapon. Though, one thing I want to stress is that if you're going to use it as a weapon, always have that backup plan. As you can see here, I already lost a wheel, and here shortly soon, well, I'm going to have some more bad news. Here's best we can. Uh-oh. Oh, that's what I heard. It wasn't a gunshot. I just lost my wheels. Oh, so yeah. Well, cars are great, and especially with sprinters. Maybe don't use it too much as a weapon, or if you are, have a backup car, or at least have a car specifically for the purpose of trying to clear out zombies, if that is your last resort. Oh, and be very careful when driving through the fog. It is tense as fuck, just seeing them come out of the fog running after you, especially if you're not paying attention. But for the most part, when it comes to cars, think of the same stuff you typically want to do if you're playing on a regular server. Just, I prioritize them more with this just for, well, the transportation, the speed that comes with them. It's much more noticeable here than if it were just with shamblers. Alright, when it comes to guns with sprinters, honestly, it's... yeah, I would highly recommend you have a serious escape plan when you fire any gun, assuming you're not using any sort of mod that adds a silencer or suppressor. The moment you fire any gun, especially a shotgun with sprinters, as you can see here, it's not going to take very long for the entire town to come after you. And when it comes to using a gun, I would say if you're okay with sitting in a car and just spending hours upon hours clearing a horde out, then go ahead, fire a gun. What you're seeing here is what ended up happening 60 or 70% of the time, it felt like on stream, anytime I fired a gun. I eventually had to escape on my car, and then if I decided to clear that town out, I can clear it out. Though, I will say, the tried and true method of just kiting them away does still work. That has no issue here. That works perfectly fine, and if anything, I'd say it works faster just because you can keep the cruise control floating between 10 miles and 50 miles per hour. If you're going 10 miles an hour, they'll slowly catch up, but if you leave it at 15, you can actually slowly leave them behind. So if you're cutting them away, I'd recommend the cruise control, setting it between 10 and 15, and just cycling back and forth just to get them out of town. There's more that I can definitely talk about in regards to how to handle them and some more tips for this, but I wanted to keep this just some of the more like high level stuff or some of the things that have been keeping me alive for the most part. Let's go ahead and move on to how to integrate them in some of the ways I recommend you can give them a try. If you're looking to do this without mods, you've got a couple different options in the base game settings. You can either set it to 100% sprinters, which I don't recommend if this is your first time, or you can set it to random. I don't know the exact specifics on how random works between the different types of zombies you get with this, but if you're looking to do this without mods and looking to go for either random or even just 100% sprinters, one thing I would recommend you do is maybe lessen the population at the start, or maybe lessen the total population, at least just to give you a chance and to make it a little bit fairer. Now, if you're looking to integrate sprinters in with mods, the one mod that I highly recommend is the Random Zombies mods by Valette. This allows you to like fully control the zombies in solo and in multiplayer, and to just dumb it down for everyone without having to go in a full description of it. Basically, you can have this set up to where you can make it to where 10% of the zombies are sprinters, 30% are shamblers, and maybe the remaining are crawler, for example. Like, you can fine-tune the percentage for them. This is how I recommend you try to play with sprinters and at least get your feet wet in the water. And I'll put on the screen the ratios and percentages that I typically recommend for, different levels of degree, if you would. And that's really all I've got right now. I wanted to make something a little bit more in depth since I got some feedback on my last video talking about sprinters, and honestly I wanted to share some opinions in regards to like why people should give them a try, because it really does revamp this game. But thank you for watching. If you're still here, take care, have a good one.
I guess I didn't think about the face paint.